Hello dear students, we are going to continue our story, Deepwater by William O. Douglas. It is taken from his autobiography, as I told you, Moon and Mountains. And the background is, I taught in my last class that he was suffering from hydrophobia due to several accidents. The California beach incident, where he was knocked down and buried in the surfs. Again, in the childhood, at YMCA swimming pool, he was tossed into the deep side of the swimming pool, deep water, and there he had a very death-like drowning experience, and that was a very important incident of his life. But more important things are to come yet. You see, people saved him, he came back to senses and realized that he was saved, and people were questioning the hefty boy, the robust boy who had thrown him. He was pleading excuses that it was unintentional, that he didn't know. Now, it had several after effects. He became weak. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. There was problem in his sickness in his stomach and his knees. He could not walk properly. Knees, the joints of the thigh and leg. Page number 27. Last paragraph, I begin. I never went back to the pool. I feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. So there was now a distance between the narrator and water. He could not dare go near to the water bodies, or he was afraid of water. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades, I wanted to get into them. Cascades, waterfalls. He wanted to get into them. And whenever I did, whether I was wading in the Triton or bumping river or bathing in warm lake of the Goat Rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. Just whenever he was in water, he was bathing, standing, but he could not think of swimming because the stark terror would come back, haunt him. It would take possession of me completely. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab my heart. Grab means catch hold of my heart. This was his handicap, his weakness, his handicap. He regrets. As the years rolled by in canoes on main lakes, fishing or landlocked salmon is a fish, bass fishing in New Hampshire, trout fishing, bass, name of a fish, trout is the name of a fish. So his fishing experiences, his fishing hobbies, he could not pursue. These are the places, Deschutes and Metolius in Oregon, fishing for salmon on the Columbia at Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. It ruined my fishing trips, deprived me of the joy of canoeing. Canoeing, canoe, a small boat, just flattened boat, boating and swimming. All my joy deprived me means being without. It left me without enjoying the water games and the sports. So this was, you can say, very shameful he felt later on as a youth when he saw his friends swimming, bathing, fishing, boating. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear. All possible way I knew. Whatever was in my knowledge, whatever was in my idea, I did to overcome, to win over to remove this fear. But it held me firmly in its grip, but it did not. But the fear would not go. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. Tried to get the help of an instructor. Instructor is one who is an expert and gives expert advice on the occasion, on a situation, on a particular condition. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week. So he summoned his common sense, he applied, and he there, under the care of an instructor, he started practicing 5 days a week, an hour each day. 1 hour every day for 5 days in a week. This was the routine. The instructor put a belt around me, a rope attached to the belt went through a pulley that ran on an overhead cable. He held on to the end of the rope and we went back and forth across the pool, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. On each trip across the pool, a bit of the panic seized me. So the practice went on with the help of life support, so that the writer could get confidence, he could gain confidence. The instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under. Some of the old terror returned and my legs froze. In the initial stage, for a long time, the fear was there. Whenever the instructor relaxed his hold and whenever he felt that he was not on support, he always panicked, he always flustered. But afterwards, it was 3 months before the tension began to slack, come down. Then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale. Exhale means to breathe out here. And to raise my nose and inhale. To raise up out of water and inhale, take air, take breath. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times, bit by bit, slowly. I shed part of the panic that seized me when my head went underwater. Earlier, when the head went underwater, he felt giddiness or horrified, but it slackened by the passage of time. Next, he held me at the side of the pool. He means the instructor. Held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. He taught me how to kick water with legs. For weeks I did just that. So for 100 times he exercised inhaling, exhaling, and for a long time, 3 months, he learnt only going up and down. And for weeks he just moved his legs so that he could feel comfortable in water. Every part of his body could feel comfortable in water. At first my legs refused to work, but they gradually relaxed and finally I could command them. Finally I could command them means they were under my control. Thus, piece by piece, he built a swimmer, and when he had perfected each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole, complete whole body. A swimmer, he made me. My every part he trained one by one, taking one by one, and then integrated completely. Combined into a whole. In April, he said, just training began in October, and in April, you can say such a long time, he practiced with the instructor. The instructor said, now you can swim, dive off and swim the length of the pool, crawl stroke. Crawl stroke is a variety of swimming. So in that style, you can drive now, you can pass the test. I am sure I have taught you. Dive off, jump off, swim the length of the pool, one length, from the shallow end to the deep end or like that. I did, and I swam. The instructor was finished. It means there was no more problem with me. The instructor was finished. The instructor's work was done, but I was not finished, he said. But I was yet to check my capacities. I still wondered if I would be terror-stricken when I was alone in the pool. In the presence of the instructor, I could swim, but can it be real when there is nobody around me? Can I do it all by myself? Can I do it by myself? I tried it. I swam the length up and down. I went up and I came back alone. Tiny vestiges of the old terror would return. Tiny small amount of the terror, vestiges, signs of old terror would return. But now I could frown and say to that terror, I could laugh at that terror, mock at that terror, make fun of that terror, and say to terror, trying to scare me? Yeah, well, here is to you. Just if you are trying to make me afraid, just I will take one more swimming. I'll go once more. And to remove that terror, I swam whenever there was any amount of doubt in my mind. Look, and off I'd go to another length of the pool. So he mocked at his terror. Terror was trying to scare him for some time, but he removed it by challenging the terror in his mind. This went on until July. So you can say from April, May, June, July. In April, the instructor finished. In July, the training began. Instructor, you can say October, then April, and then July. In July, he was self-sufficient for swimming. He had confidence of swimming. I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the terror had left, so I went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. Swimming in the swimming pool was not all that I had aspired for, all that I had longed for, all that I wanted. So I went to a lake, open water body. That is the place, Wentworth. Where is it? It is the name of a lake, Wentworth, in New Hampshire. Dived off a dock at Triggs Island and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamphead Island. From one island to another island, between the Lake Wentworth was there, and he swam, the distance was 2 miles. I swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, and backstroke. These are the 4 types of swimming techniques. Crawl stroke, breaststroke, side stroke, and backstroke. Only once did the terror return when I was in the middle of the lake. When I was in the middle of the lake, just for some time the old terror came to my mind. If something happens, I was a non-swimmer just 1 year ago, like that. I was so afraid of water, but now I was in the middle of the lake. I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. When I put my face and saw underneath, fathomless, endless water. The old sensation returned in miniature. Miniature means in a small amount. I laughed and said, well, Mr. Terror, terror is personified, has been assumed as a person. Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? I again took the challenge, I threw the challenge at the terror and said, what do you think you can do to me? Now I am not a you can say, so timid person, not a novice swimmer. Now I am a good swimmer. I have confidence in me and I am determined to swim. It fled away and I swam on. So he practiced, and you can say hard work, sheer determination, proper planning, and hard work made him a swimmer. Yet I had residual doubts. At my first opportunity, I hurried west, went up to the Tyson to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creek Trail to Mead Glacier, and camped in the high meadow by the side of Warm Lake. Next, we went into a meadow, and there was a great lake called the Warm Lake. Where was it? In the Conrad Meadows. That is the location. The next morning, I stripped. You can see Earlier, for swimming, you have to remove clothes, and it says in the beginning of the story, in page number 25th, here just I want to go naked and I show my skinny legs. I subdued my pride, means I compromised with my self-respect. Now, in the meadow, I was alone. He again removed his clothes. I stripped, means removed my normal clothes, and in the swimming dress, dived into the lake, jumped into the lake, and swam across to the other shore and back. I came to the other shore, means in shore, seashore, or you can say lake shore, the side parts of the water body. Just as John Corporn used to do, and this was the spot where a great swimmer, Doc Corporn, had practiced. I shouted with joy, just as Doc Corporn used to do, and I used to yell, cry, and Gilbert Peak, there was mountain, Gilbert Mountain Peak. Peak means the topmost part of the mountain, returned the echo. I had conquered my fear of water. And I shrieked, I cried in joy, and my joy was reflected in the form of echo from the Gilbert Peak. There was no one. The experience had a deep meaning for me. So this part of my life had a deep meaning for me. This taught me a great lesson, as only those who have known a stark terror and conquered it, only those persons who have ever known a stark terror, a great terror, and those who have won over it, those who have overcome it, those who overcome their weakness, not regret their weakness only, but they try and win over the fear, they can appreciate my experience. In death there is peace. I had experienced death. In death there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. I'll die. I'll not do this because I can die. So there is fear in the fear of death is great thing. Death is nothing, not important. Death is not bad, but the fear is bad. Fear of death is bad. And he quotes his friend Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the American president, who was his friend. He wants to quote here his friend Roosevelt, when he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. So we don't have to fear anything, we just have to fear the fear inside us, which stops us from doing something, from starting. Because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. I had experienced both the sensation, the feeling of dying, and the fear of terror of death. Death can cause great terror. This also I had experienced. How much terror death can produce. The will to live somehow grew in intensity, in great force. The life force, the willingness to live, the longevity that grew in me, that I became more life-loving person. At last, I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear. Now I have no fear. I have learned to remove fear in my life, and I can I can climb up hills and peaks of mountains and walk any difficult path. Trails means difficult paths. So this is the story of William O. Douglas, his personal experience taken from his autobiography, and here he says the message is clear: to remove all kinds of fear. Fear will not allow you to go ahead. Thank you very much.